Welcome to the Plugged In Parent Cheat Sheet. We are talking about reimagining summer, and I'm so excited today to be talking to Lori Brown, who is the Director of Research of the American Camp Association, which, if you don't know, it is the premier organization regarding camps. They accredit camps. They've been around for 100 years. They ensure quality camp experience for campers. And I've seen you quoted in every major publication in the world. Welcome to the Plugged In Parent Cheat Sheet. Thank you for carving out some time for us today.
Hi, Brad. I'm glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about, first of all, just tell me so people have a context about the American Camp Association.
Sure. American Camp Association is a national nonprofit. Our mission is to promote youth development and quality of life through high-quality camp experiences. So we have about 10,000 individual members, most of whom are camp professionals, ranging from seasonal summer staff all the way up to executive directors and owners. We also have lots of parents that engage with us and other youth-serving organizations. Our bread and butter is accreditation, which is our program of health, safety, and risk management. And we see that as an educational process. So we work with camps to work towards the highest standard in the industry around health, safety, and risk management. But we do a lot more. We do a ton of professional development in person and now a lot of virtual experiences. And we do public policy and advocacy. And then, of course, research. And that's my job. So lots I can talk about there.
Do you have any numbers on this idea of what a summer camp like is in enrollment? I know there are at least there are thousands of camps who are accredited by you that you work with. Any idea about how many camps are canceled or how many are going on?
Yeah, I wish I knew, and this is the question that we're getting a lot right now. It's a little too soon to tell. A lot of states have not released their guidelines, so there are still camps in limbo, still camps waiting to decide. And camps are pivoting in such a remarkable way that it's actually hard to say that one is open and one's closed, because what we're seeing are a lot of adjustments and a lot of nimble responses. So, about the end of July, we expect to have a much clearer picture of this.
Today, we are talking all about camps. And as camps are going back into business, every state is a little bit different with the guidelines. The American Camp Association accredits thousands of camps across the country with this idea of creating value in the camp experience, wanting to make sure that it's a high quality experience and that they really believe in children first. So tell me, as parents are watching this interview, what do we need to keep in mind as we're thinking about sending our kids off to camp? Like safety measures, are there guidelines that you're setting to help camps reopen safely?
There are. And this really started with the CDC and an organization that we engaged with early on in partnership with YUSA, who operates thousands of camps across the country. But we engaged a consulting firm that made up of public health experts, liaised with pediatricians, people who know about how to keep kids safe and healthy. And through a very iterative process, we were able to develop what we're calling a Summer 2020 operating guide. So for camps that do make the decision to offer in-person programs this summer in accordance with their local health departments, there is a very specific playbook coming all the way down to group sizes and what we're calling these circles or family units and how to keep them distanced from other family units. Monitoring, for COVID-19, disinfecting, all of those details are in this guidebook. And so I'd really invite people to visit that. And especially if they're thinking about sending their child to camp, to ask the camps if they've consulted with that guidebook. It's freely available. We know that tens of thousands of camps have used it already. And so I would encourage any parent to use that as a point of question to a camp that they're considering.
Is that readily available on your website?
It is, and I'm happy to share it with you so you can link to it on your website.
Oh, great. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. So as people are seeing us talk right now, they should be seeing this. If I'm a parent asking questions, what are the few questions that I should make sure I'm asking my camp director to make sure that my kids are going to be safe at summer camp?
Sure. So, and the most important thing to keep in mind is that every family has their own unique needs. Every camp is different. Camps are operating within their state and local health departments, which varies across the country. But some key questions that we recommend asking first and foremost: what are the procedures around screening and monitoring for campers and staff? To what extent are you able to keep camp a bubble, right? And this is somewhat easier for overnight camps, but even overnight camps tend to have a lot of comings and goings. So how are they minimizing, kind of what comes and goes into that bubble?
Right. One camp I was talking to, they are limiting the amount of parent interaction. So you can drop your kid off at camp, but you can't come in. They really are making sure that they have a finite amount of people in that camp.
Absolutely. And so we're seeing a lot of really kind of systematic approaches to transportation. Day camps in particular, but also overnight camps, obviously have to deal with parents dropping off kids and picking them up. And so there's some really specific guidance for that in this guidebook that I referenced earlier. But that's certainly a question, and certainly that something parents are going to need to be familiar with, because it's probably going to look a little different than what they might be used to.
And then what about masks? I'm just thinking about my own child, and as much as he says he's wearing masks with his friends when they've gone, Dad, I promise we'll walk 6 feet apart, we'll wear a mask, and then I've circled around to the park and they're playing basketball with no mask. What about mask at camp? I can imagine that would be a little bit challenging to manage.
Yeah, so that's the question to ask for camps. How are they going to encourage kids to wear masks? How are they going to, kind of remind them to wear masks? And what happens, let's say, in the case of swimming? We are seeing that swimming is considered a safer place to be. There's not evidence that COVID increases in a pool environment. So camps may include swimming this summer, according to their local health departments and so forth. But so that's a question they need to ask. How are you going to make sure that my kid is wearing a mask when it's appropriate and taking it off when they need to and then putting it back on?
Great. Awesome. And then I also think that there's spacing, that they were talking about spacing, because I remember with summer camp, like those getting muddy, the tug of war, a lot of physical contact. We might have to reimagine that a little bit this summer. Yes?
Yeah, and what we're thinking about are these cohorts or families. How can we keep spacing between families? So if you think of a traditional overnight camp experience where you have a cabin group of maybe 6 to 8 kids, how can we keep that cabin group, engaged in somewhat traditional activities, but appropriate distance from other cabin groups? So we're seeing some really creative scheduling around meal times to make sure there's lots of space and lots of different shifts in meal times, making more space and time in transitions between activities so that the family unit still has the opportunity, and this is really key, still has the opportunity to have those close, meaningful relationships that are so important at camp, but still keeping safe. And keeping that distance from the other family units seems to be most aligned with the recommendations from the CDC.
And I think that when I look at your site and the information that you have, that I think one of the key tenets is that bonding opportunity that kids have to develop socially while they're at camp in this wonderful environment that's created. Yeah,
relationships are far and away the number one value proposition of camps. And we've known this from a research perspective for a long, long time, but we're also engaged in a new multi-year study where not only are we tracking what kids get out of camp in real time, but we're also talking to camp alumni who are reflecting back on their camp experiences and telling us how they're using that in college and careers. And the number one theme, there are lots of benefits and value in camp, but it always comes back to relationships.
Thank you for plugging us into summer camp. And if you want to keep plugged in to everything that your kids are plugged into, just go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter at the link below. Lori, thank you and happy camping.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. And good luck reinventing your summer.